think we're there.
We're live. Yay!
But now I can't get Instagram. Oh, well, maybe it'll come in a minute. Oh, I think it is going now. All right. Yay. Hey, everyone. We're coming live to you from Grayson, Georgia, and
Pocatello, Idaho.
Ooh! And we are at a different time today, so I'm not sure how many paid attention. I know they got a lot of response because you were coming, Dawn, but I hope they paid attention to the time change. If not, they'll see it this afternoon because I'll get them posted. But thank you for agreeing to join. I didn't realize our time difference was so was different. You don't think about that.
What is the normal time that this happens?
At 2:00.
At 2:00
Eastern Standard Time. So,
okay.
But it's no big deal because I want you to be on. And so when Katie said, this is what we have, I said, sign me up. I'll take it.
Oh.
So it's 9 there, correct?
It is 9 a.m. here. Yes.
Okay. All right. That's your early bird. I've already had my whatevers. But Deborah Sue, hey, you're on with us. Thank you. You saw the time change. I'm sure your other two ladies, their family, have three ladies that come on usually from the Pate family. So, but let's go ahead. I know first of all, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Angie from the Traveling Yarn Yogi. And I am in love with yarn and tea. And so I decided to start doing these segments so that we could meet different people in the fiber world. And so I'm not afraid to ask people, and you never know what happens. So I was super excited when I got to meet Dawn's staff at H&H in Chicago. And reached out to them, and they got me hooked up to bring Dawn on today. So, and Dawn is, I found out, likes herbal tea. So she has made her lemon and ginger.
Yep. Lemon ginger is my favorite, the Bigelow.
And I've got a white, that's good. I've got a white tea today, Mediterranean Daydream White. And so it's from Plum Deluxe, and it is a white tea, so it's a little more delicate. And I think I've already had this on the show one time, but it's light. It feels good. So it does have pistachio and coconut in it, and
that sounds delicious.
I know, I love it. So this company has a lot of even I believe has just herbal teas as well. So
they have a lot that have like big chunks of fruit in it.
Yes.
Like I could just eat it out of the.
I know, isn't it? So you've tried them before.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes, I know. This had chunks of apple and whatever. It makes a difference. So kind of cool. But I wanted to go ahead and let you tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got started, and I am curious of where your name came from.
Oh, okay. So Twice Sheared Sheep, I always feel bad that I named my company essentially a tongue twister, because every time I have to say it, I'm like, I have to be very precise. I'm like, Twice Sheared Sheep. So when my business got started, that I've been doing this for 20 some years, but like anything in the fiber world, it changes and evolves. That I have 5 children. At this point, we are on the downward slope. My 2 youngest are twins, and they are seniors in high school this year. So, but when my oldest 2 were babies, a toddler and a baby, that I was a stay-at-home mom, and that I have a little bit of an addictive personality. I think that I think a lot of yarn people have a little bit of an addictive personality. But at the time I was playing online video games. I think we were playing Final Fantasy online. And I realized this was not a particularly healthy obsession when you have small toddlers who are like, Mom, Mom. And you're like, no, we're in a raid. They need me. And so I quit playing video games, and I needed something to fill my time, to fill my energy and all of that. I tried quilting, but that's not very conducive to small children around. And I had a previous boyfriend before I met my husband and we got married and everything, who had taught me to knit. And so I had learned to crochet as a teenager. I have always loved yarn, and I'm like, you know what? That's something that I could do portable in my hands that's not going to bother anybody. And I took up knitting again, and I took it up with a passion, like I do everything. And so I learned to knit socks. I learned to do color work. I learned to do lace. I learned to do everything that first year. And all of the yarn that I knit with was from, Hobby Lobby or Michael's or whatever I could find. And at the time, this was before Ravelry. This was before YouTube. I'm dating myself. I'm a little bit.
I'm a lot older than you, I believe.
There used to be what were called Yahoo groups. So it was like an email list of people. Mm-hmm. And I think it was before even there were forums or things like that. And so it was you could email into this email list, and then they'd send a consensus of all the things that people said that day, or whatever. And everybody in this knit list was talking about wool yarn or sock yarn or whatever. And I'm like, being the baby knitter that I was, I'm like, what is this wool yarn you're talking about? The only wool I'd ever had experience with was that itchy sweater that my grandma had. And I'm like, why are you guys obsessed with wool? That sounds awful. Why would you want to do this? And they're like, no, it's amazing. It's fantastic. I promise you. And I'm like, I don't believe you. And there was a lovely person on this list who was starting up a brand new company of hand dyeing sock yarn, which wasn't a thing then. It was brand new. They had they were doing a club, and the club was called Socks That Rock.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if you've heard of them. Yeah, they were kind of a big deal. And she said, you know what? I'm going to send you a skein of my yarn, and I want you to try it and tell me that you don't love wool. And most kind, generous human being ever sent this stranger on the internet a skein of hand-dyed sock yarn. And she was right. It was the most amazing thing I had ever touched. And I became obsessed with knitting with only wool yarn after that point. I still knit with acrylic or cotton or things for various points, but merino wool is my passion, my love. I would ride or die with merino wool. And so, but my husband worked for Costco. I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. We are, my yarn budget was about this big. I say we were just poor little church mice at the time. And I didn't have money to buy fancy yarn. And so I found a tutorial online on how to unravel thrift store sweaters for the yarn.
Wow.
And so I went to the thrift store and I bought like 4 or 5 sweaters, and I didn't know exactly what I was looking for. So I got, one that was cotton, and one that was wool, and one that had was really shiny. It had like nylon and silk or something in it. And I'm like, this is fancy. Little did I know, I could tell you all about unraveling sweaters now, but I didn't pick the best sweaters. There were multiple plies held together as opposed to spun together. And I didn't realize how to get all the water out of the yarn. So I unraveled it. I used a baby gate because I didn't have a Swift or a skein winder, and just wound the yarn around. I set it at 24 inches or, 36 inches or something like that. And I squeezed the water out as best I could after I wound it into a hank and washed it in the sink with hair shampoo because I didn't know what wool wash was. And And it just sat in my bathroom and dripped for like 3 days because I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, this is awful. This is terrible. Why would anybody want to do this? But pretty soon, like everything, I was eyeballing those other sweaters and being like, I bet I could do this better. And so after a while, I'd unraveled a lot of sweaters. And then I had more yarn than I actually could personally knit. And I saw that there were people selling recycled yarn on eBay.
Oh, wow.
And so I remember telling my husband and my family, I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll make $50. I'll put this up on eBay and see what happens. And it sold. And then I unraveled more sweaters specifically to sell on eBay, and they sold. And that's how, you know, when I started on eBay, I had to give my company a name. Right. And so I called it Twice Sheared Sheep, because first shearing is when you shear the sheep. And the second was when I was unraveling the sweater, and I thought I was so clever. Oh. And the name just kind of stuck around. And so I started out selling recycled yarn on eBay. And then when Etsy became a thing, we moved over to Etsy. And like anything in the fiber space, you fall down a rabbit hole. And so I saw people were making stitch markers, little beaded things. And I'm like, well, it's wire and beads. I could do that. And so then I started making those. I started making our row counters. I designed the very specific way that everything goes together, because and those became more popular than the recycled yarn. And unraveling sweaters is incredibly tedious. Mm-hmm. I have unraveled thousands of sweaters. Wow. So then we shifted more into the tools and the beads and all of those things, and everything just kind of grows. That the more that I listen to what people were really interested in, the more that I talk to people and they're like, Dawn, this is a problem. I don't know how to, this is really annoying when this happens. And I'm like, I bet I could do something about that. And so that's kind of how we've grown, and we've done the things, is that I listen to what people tell me, and then I make the things that are going to help solve their problems. And so far that's worked out pretty well. Yeah.
That is pretty cool. And I would have never thought that that's how we're Twice Sheared. But it makes a whole lot more sense than a tool company, because I was trying to go Twice Sheared. Well, I wonder where that comes from. So it's perfect.
Yeah, it's a legacy. It's a legacy of our history.
That's right. So do you so what was your first, well, you told us the I'm sorry.
So first product. So our first product in the tools realm that I sold was stitch markers.
Okay. Yeah.
And then our chain row counter. And I will be free to admit, I am not the person who invented the chain row counter. There have been versions of a chain row counter for a very long time. The one that I make, though, is my design of how every loop is formed by hand by us. And rather than using jump rings and that can catch on things, that we have a very special way that we put it together so that all of the ends are inside the bead, so there's nothing to catch anything. It also makes the chain a whole lot lighter than some of the other ones that are out there. But that was one of the first things that I made, was because it was something that I needed in my own knitting. Was something that I could keep track of where I was, because my poor mama brain, that I would be knitting along, and then, while I am an excellent knitter, I can stop and I can recount my rows, or I can count my stitches, and I can figure out where I'm at. I don't enjoy spending more of my time trying to figure out what I'm doing than actually doing the things. So that was one of our first things. And then I had 3 styles of stitch markers that I sold. I have our infinity markers, which we still have in the shop, and they're kind of like a figure 8. They're a really simple stitch marker, and I love them because the little teardrop at the top means it's really easy to get your needle tip in as you slide it from needle to needle.
Okay.
And so they give you a little bit of shiny bling with the bead, but they're really pretty unobtrusive. And the second style was our Melody style, which is removable. It works for crochet and for knitting. And it's named that because if you look at it sideways, it looks a little bit like a music note, like eighth notes. And the third style was called Mobius, and it was really close next to the needle. And it was more difficult to make simply because you had to twist the wire just right in order to lock the bead in. And when I reached the point where I personally couldn't make everything with my two hands anymore, and I was training essentially my friends to make things for us and with us, that was one that they really struggled with, that they couldn't get it quite right. Apparently it was something about my hands that did it. And so we discontinued the Mobius stitch markers, although we did have a lovely person email us the other day and say, can I still get Mobius stitch markers? I'm like, we'll see. Maybe.
That's interesting, though, that they couldn't do after what you've done. But of all the products you've done, and you have done a lot, what's your favorite?
Oh my goodness. My favorite is still the chain row counter. I mean,
Okay.
It sounds ridiculous. It was the first one, but maybe it's because that was the one that I made to solve my problem.
Yeah.
And I have a chain row counter, I think, on every project that I do, because it makes my life so much easier. I also, newer products that I really like the Work and Tell measuring tape. That was my friend Jean said it's really annoying when I have to keep pulling out my measuring tape when, it says knit until for 4 inches or knit until it's 12 inches long or something. And you're getting close, and that last inch is like a black hole.
Oh yeah.
It's really nice for that because you don't have to keep pulling out your measuring tape. It's just hanging on your knitting. And I love the yarn to go carousel. I've been knitting with yarn hanks for a long time, and so I'm used to winding them into cakes or into balls. And I've always just done the center pull, which is great because it doesn't roll all over the place or get all crazy. But by the time that you get to the end of the ball, it's kind of collapsing in on itself, and it can get a little tangly at the end. And I didn't think that I wanted a yarn butler, something that sits on the table that can spin and hold your yarn. But there is something about this little carousel that is, I just love it, that it holds the yarn beautifully. It sits there and it does its thing. It doesn't fall off the table. The yarn doesn't catch on it. It doesn't snag. It's that I find that I have like 2 of them in my bag, so that if I'm doing any kind of color work or I'm doing fading and I've got multiple balls that I'm alternating between, that I've got them sitting on a carousel next to me, doing their thing.
Well, I will tell you that I still haven't. I bought a lot of the because I bought the yarn and tea.
Oh yes.
I went nuts thinking, oh my gosh. But I'll be honest, I still haven't figured out how to use them. And I know what I love about what you've done too, is that you do have videos to show people how to use most of your products in different things. And it's just me. I haven't stopped long enough to sit there and absorb it. But my brain and that is not clicking yet, but yet I've heard so many people talk about how wonderful it is. So
Okay.
I'm promise.
Well, if you've got the yarn and tea time, you have probably got an odd even row counter. Is it 2 pieces or is it a single piece?
I got single, and I do have an odd row, which I did get that and didn't pay attention to what that was.
Yeah. So the one that is, we have our chain row counters come in a straight chain, or they come in one that's in a circle. If you don't like,
I got any circles. Okay.
Yeah. And then because the way that a chain row counter works is you have to put it on your needles like a stitch marker. So it sits in between 2 stitches, and that when you're knitting in the round, it goes great as the beginning of the round marker. So you're knitting around, and every time you come to it, it's the beginning of the round. But when you're knitting flat, that there is no beginning and end necessarily. And so I tend to put my row counter like right after the edging stitches on the right side row. But that means that I move it at the beginning of the right side rows, and then I knit, and then I flip it, and it's not until like almost the end of the wrong side row. And my brain doesn't mind this. I have no problem. My brain has no problem saying, okay, on right side rows, I move it at the beginning. On wrong side rows, I move it at the end. But I do have a lot of friends who have who've told me that they're like, Dawn, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I'm like, cool. You know, everybody's brain is different. Everybody's brain behaves differently. And so they said, can I have a row counter that I can move at the beginning of every row? It'll just make my brain happier. And so that's why we made the odd evens, is it split the chain. So all of the odd numbers are on one chain and all of the even numbers are on the other chain.
Okay.
And you put one at the beginning of your row and one at the end of your row. And so when you're working flat, you can come to the thing and move the row counter at the beginning of the row, knit all the way down to the end, just slip the row counter at the end, flip it, and now you've got a row counter at your beginning again. And so you knit, and then you move it to the next number in the chain. So if you got the yarn and tea time, you probably either got an odd even row counter, so there are two of them, or you got the increase decrease counters, which are only 2 loops each.
Yeah.
And those ones are legitimately, that came about because of the pandemic. That there was such a high level of stress in everyday life, you know, during the pandemic. And it's not like I was in any danger personally, but you know, the news and everything, and knitting became a very big therapy for me to just you know, I call garter stitch therapy, where you just, I'm not doing anything fancy, I'm just knitting. And I had a pattern that I was knitting, and actually I don't even think I had a pattern. I was just knitting a scarf where you increase on one edge every other row, and it gives you the asymmetrical sort of triangle thing going on. But my poor brain couldn't even remember to increase every other row, because it was garter stitch. You know, it's not like I had the trigger of seeing, oh, this is the right side or this is the wrong side. I'm like, which side is it? Which one am I on the increase row? Am I not on the increase row? And so that little 2-row counter was specifically for my poor brain at that point, where I needed to knit because it was saving my sanity, but I didn't have enough brain capacity to do anything other than just knit. And so if I put that little row counter on the edge of my knitting right before where I'm supposed to increase, that every time I came to it, if the little bead said I, then that meant that was the row that I increased this time. And then if little beads said K, it meant that is the row that I knit, and I didn't have to think about it anymore, and I didn't have to rip it out because I had made a mistake or anything. So
that's
we have
cool.
that one. We have that one, I think, in the yarn and tea time too.
So, well, I'm vowing before the end of this year, just because, you know, I'm giving myself plenty of time, that I will have the row counting, because I'm still check marking, and that I'm the same one going, oh darn, I think I forgot to check one, or the increase, and go, oh my gosh, I'll just make up for that in a minute and just add a stitch somewhere.
Hey, I firmly believe in the Fudget school of knitting.
Yes, but
you know that
you got tools that will help. I need to use them.
Yeah, other than in lace, you can't just willy-nilly add things in lace. But you know, for most things, if you forgot an increase on this row, just add the next row.
Yes. That's right. It didn't show too bad, but 2 or 3 will start to show sometimes. So, well, that's kind of that's, and you've said you make them. So, do you have staff making those, or are they done in a manufacturing
So
world?
almost everything that we have that we sell in our shop is made by my team and us here in Pocatello. So like I said, this was my stay-at-home mom job for a decade, of where I was the only one making everything. And so it makes me really happy that about half of our staff are also stay-at-home moms now. And so they'll come in on Monday and they'll pick up supplies, and they'll work all week around whatever their babies need, whether it's soccer games or, all the things. And then they bring it back the next Monday. And so any
Oh my
row pattern
gosh.
or stitch markers or any of the beaded things, the carousels, all of those things, the work and tell measuring tapes, that if you get that in your hands, it was made by somebody's hands. While we do have a few things that we outsource, our knitting bags, our Trinity bags, we don't personally make those. I don't have the machinery to do that or anything yet. But all of the beaded things, all of the wooden things are made by us. And I love the idea, you go to Michael's or you go to Hobby Lobby or whatever, and you see the knitting notions on the wall, and you know that they were made in a factory somewhere. And while I firmly believe that everybody all around the world needs a good job, everybody's family needs to be fed. It doesn't matter which country you live in, you love your kids and you need to be fed. But I have this vision that I think would be amazing, is that if our factory that puts things on the shelves, so to speak, isn't a physical place, but it is in all of these homes all around Pocatello with all of these mamas in their kitchens.
That's awesome.
That makes me really happy.
Oh, I bet it does. That's just amazing. So, do you cut the wood and everything there, and then they put it together and that type of thing?
Yes. In fact, I keep taking videos and I keep forgetting to put them on social media.
Oh, yeah.
But so a couple of years ago, when we first introduced the yarn carousel, that I cut, we first introduced them in our Advent box, and I personally cut every single one of those on my little hobby laser cutter in my house, and then I was cutting some glitter acrylic for our tin dividers for our tins. And I had a fire and burned the machine down, did not burn my house down, and realized that this was not what I should be doing. I should not be the one doing it. And so we outsourced cutting of the wood for the carousels and for some of our things that are made out of acrylic. And then we had a problem in this last year with our cord quill, that we had outsourced making that for us because I didn't have the machines to be able to do it. I knew what I wanted. I knew the shape. I knew exactly the dimensions. I knew everything that I wanted, but I just physically did not have the capability of making it myself. And so we outsourced that. And the quality that we received back was absolutely not what I wanted it to be. I was panicking and heartbroken. And that at that point, I'm like, well, screw it. What machines do I need? How do I make this happen? And so starting the beginning of this year, I went about the process of figuring out how to get a loan from the bank, how to research which machines I needed, how to hire somebody who actually knew how to run the machines and wouldn't cut off their arm because I probably would. And we are now in August at the point that we have all of our machines up and running.
Wow.
And all of our wood shop is functional. And now all of the wood products and all of the acrylic products are going to be made in-house too.
Now, is that there? Do you have a place, or is it at your on your homeland?
So I live in the middle of town, and so no, I do not have land anymore. I told you that I used to have alpacas in my backyard when I lived in
That's where
we had some land. But here in Pocatello, we have a 4,000 square foot office building, and it's really kind of funny because Pocatello is an older town. And like a lot of older towns in the center of town that you can see the growth of the time period or whatever. The building that we're in, I think, was built in the 80s or the 90s, maybe, but it was built over the top of some 1940s row houses.
Oh,
and
wow.
so that we share the building. There's a cute little daycare next door, and across the street there's I think that there's an aquatic pet store, or and a music store, and things. But in our building, that the inside houses, they built the entire building over the top of it, and then in the center, we're over here, and the daycare's over here, and in the center was this what used to be a house and was essentially abandoned space in the center of this building. And if you've ever had this dream where you're walking through a house and you keep finding more rooms, that is what this house is. And when we first rented this building, because we outgrew our old building from just the number of staff that we have and the amount of shipping and storage and everything, that I looked at this building and I'm like, oh, this would make a neat little yarn shop. And I walked through that scary inner house. We lovingly refer to it as the murder house.
Oh, God.
I walked through that, and it was full of junk, and there were walls everywhere. And in my mind, I could picture the laser set up here and saws over here. I could picture this was going to be the wood shop. And that was a year before I had even decided that we were going to build a wood shop. But I could see it. And everybody thought that I was crazy until, until we started knocking down walls, and we spent a heck of a lot of money on electrical to upgrade everything.
Oh, gosh.
Run all the machinery. But so our wood shop is right next door, to our shipping facility, to our office where we do all of our shipping out of. And so,
and your inventory's there.
Nice. Yeah, and all of our inventory, about every 6 months we have to rearrange the office to say, where can we find some more room to put some more yarn?
So are you open to the public?
We are not open to the public yet. That is on my hopes.
Okay.
I know you met Katie at H&H.
Yes.
Katie is my right hand, and she's amazing. She has been floating around the idea of maybe doing a retreat in Pocatello at some point. And we are working on it to making it open to the public. But right now it is not
tours or something.
Yeah. If you came, all you would see was all of us sitting in an office building and a giant stack of packages waiting for our postman to come pick them up.
It sounds amazing. And you basically giving those jobs to those ladies, and you should feel very proud to do that. I think that's awesome, because some of the questions I was going to ask you was just basically you've already basically answered. But what advice would you give someone who had an idea of a tool and how to start? So what would they do first? I'm one of these people that I'm like, everybody should have a business. Business is amazing. But the internet makes it so accessible for you to be able to do what you want to do. That if you have an idea, it is so easy for you to get in front of people. And I say that with a grain of salt, because, I do pay for advertising.
And it was one of the first things that even before I hired staff, I paid for advertising, because I knew I had a product that if somebody saw a photo of the chain row counter on the internet, didn't know what it was or what it was supposed to do. And I had to educate and show people and tell people what it is. But that, you know, with social media, with all of the fiber festivals that we have around, that is one of the most amazing things, is the ability to get the word out and to be able to tell people. The other thing that I would say is that you do not have to do everything yourself. I am a maker. I love to make things. I love to, and I like to think that I'm a smart cookie. And so I'm like, I can learn that. But
Sure.
I have learned over the years, I did not want to hire anybody initially. I spent several years trying to find an industry where I could make a living or make money, where I could still do everything myself. I have a really great business coach. He told me, well, Dawn, that's stupid. You just need to hire somebody. And I'm like, I don't want to hire anybody. How do I want to be a boss? And he's like, well, how do you know if you've never tried it?
That's true.
If you don't like it, you can always stop. And I'm like, okay. That there is a saying this word, multiplicative power of having more than one person. That you can only do so much yourself, and this person can only do so much themselves. And you'd think that adding them together, you're going to be the sum of your two parts, but you absolutely are not. That when you add people into your world and into your team, you are able to do far more than either of you could do individually, or even the two of you together should be able to do. That there is something that happens when you have a group of people that is far more powerful than what the math says that it should be.
Mm-hmm.
And this is true whether it is you hire somebody to be on your staff, or whether you are reaching out to do a brand partnership with somebody else in the industry. I am a firm believer in the idea that rising tides raise all boats. I have never looked at business as a major competition between you and me, and there's only so much money to go around, or there's only so much audience or whatever to go around. That if you and I become friends and we talk together and we work together, then we're both going to succeed. And isn't that what we want? Is for both of us to succeed, not for me to say, oh, well, one of us has to go. This isn't the Hunger Games here.
No.
You know. No. And so that's one of my pieces of advice too, is that there is power in people. And I am an introvert. I don't like
no way.
You'll see how exhausted you won't see, but I will be exhausted after all of this. I have been afraid to reach out and talk to people or to do things. You'll notice that to set up this thing, that as we were talking, I handed you off to Katie. I'm like, Katie, do all the details for me, please. Because, the little bit of introvert in me is still, like, who wants to talk to me? But don't be afraid to talk to people. Mm-mm. Don't be afraid to reach out. Everybody is kinder than you think they are.
Yep.
And when you put kindness and goodness out into the world, you're going to get it back.
Yeah.
I promise. There are cranky people on the internet. This is true. We all know this. But there are going to be far more people who love what you're doing than people who are going to be critical of what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I told you earlier, I'm not afraid to ask people, and I'm always looking at ways where we can help each other, especially any business, because you can collaborate and come up with anything. I have, because I'm working on, as my bus, I travel around, but I can meet up at any store that's a mama, that's owned by someone individually, and we can bring things together. You never know who might know who and what. So, I think it's important. It's just, that's the way it's got to be.
that is the other thing is I have heard people say, oh, well, I won't go talk to that person because we're not in the same field or we don't do the same thing. And I'm never going to collaborate with them because I'm a knitter or they're a crocheter or, whatever. You don't know who they know. Mm-mm. You don't know what just being friends with everybody is going to get you.
Yeah.
And, or what you can do for them, or you don't know.
You don't know. Things happen. I've made connections with a new quilt store here in Metro Atlanta. And they've got a great crowd, but there's so many quilters that are knitters. And, it's been slow. People finding me and that type of thing, even though I've been in that market before. But I went to that tea this weekend and one of the ladies goes, I know who you are. You're the yarn lady. And I said, okay. And she said, no, I don't knit or anything, but I'm here sometimes when you're here. I said, well, that's great. That's great. Well, she knows. So if someone she knows is a yarn person, she's going to tell them about it. And she even heard me, I'm going to have my very first Learn to Knit class there. And I wasn't sure I would do that, but I think I got it planned. I got it right. So she may even take it. So I was just like, hey, see, you never know what will come of anything, but we're both small business owners and we can help each other. So I think it's part of the game. You just never know. I think someone came to me that's selling vitamins or something. You never know.
You never know.
No, I will do whatever, wherever. It's just kind of a fun thing to think about that part of it. So, but you floored me because I didn't know that you put those things together the way you did. I would have thought you had hired because you've got, I can't imagine numbers. I mean, how many row counters you have sold. I bet we
have sold so many row counters.
Well,
and you showed me the quick gauge ruler earlier.
Oh, that's my favorite.
I joke that 2025 is brought to you by the quick gauge ruler.
Yes.
Because it is one of those things that, again, when I said I just listen to people and what they tell me that they need, and that we introduced this in the Advent box last year, and then to the public in January, and we have sold probably 20,000 of those so far this year, because when you have a product that actually solves a problem, it
just happens.
It just happens.
It does. I've sold out this weekend at the show, so I've got to re-up, because I'm telling you, if I go somewhere and I don't have one, they're going to be mad because they know that I've been talking about it a lot. So
thank you so much. Thank you.
I've got several, but I love the melody clips to pull off counting by 50 to 500. That's a good. Some people were stopping at 100. I thought, well, no, I had something with 450 stitches so recently, and it helps a lot. So but you are an inspiration for sure. I really think. Have you ever thought, has anyone else done a row counter like yours?
Actually, if you go on Etsy, you can find quite a few that are chain row counters that have numbers. I personally like ours the best.
Right.
Ours is, I think it's the lightest, which means it's not weighing down your needles. It's the shortest in length, which means it's not dangling as much. But if you are a blingy person, you can find a row counter that's got pretty beads in between each number, and
but you don't worry about that.
I don't. Like I said, that I think that there is enough room in this world for multiple people to be selling the same things. And honestly, I think while I am a business owner and I'm like, please support me, please support my people that we're trying to feed and everything, but that how much worse would our knitting world be if we only had one company that made knitting needles?
Right.
Or if we only had one company that hand dyed yarn. If somebody said, I am the only person who is ever allowed to hand dye yarn, I was the first person to do it, nobody else is allowed to do it, we as a community would be so, we would be at such a loss.
Yeah.
And so I figured that if somebody comes up with a better widget than mine, then the knitting community needs it.
Right.
And I am happy for them and their success that they have come up with something so wonderful. Maybe I wish that I came up with it, maybe. But you know what? I like to run in my own lane, and I'm not worried about necessarily what everybody else is doing, because I've got my community, I've got all of the people on our email list, and I'm trying to serve them. And you know what? I am more than happy if I am not your person and something that I said doesn't resonate with you, and you're like, I want this person, please go support them. You know,
Sure.
we
Sure.
we all need to eat.
When did you start doing wholesale with the local yarn stores? Was it from the beginning or no?
So, no, it wasn't at the very beginning, because honestly, as you're growing in business, a lot of it is a mental shift as you go.
Yeah.
And I was selling on Etsy at the time, and somebody reached out to me, a yarn shop reached out to me and said, do you do wholesale? And I'm like, I don't know. What is normally the terms for wholesale? I don't know what that looks like. And when I saw that generally wholesale is 50% off, I'm like, oh, my brain couldn't handle the idea of selling wholesale, because to me, I was taking such a loss. But the reality is that if you are doing things right in your business, and you're pricing things appropriately, that sometimes in our incredible generosity as makers, we look at, it costs me this much in materials and this much in time, and so therefore I'll add those two together and that equals the price. But that leaves zero room for us to be able to do wholesale, for us to be able to sell it to a yarn shop, or to offer a sale or anything. And so I had to change my brain and how I handled it, that I'm happy at the wholesale price, to make myself happy at that. And then everything else is a bonus. Everything else is wonderful. And it gives me more room for advertising. It gives me more room to be generous with prizes and gifts and all of those things. So yes, the first wholesale was somebody who reached out to me, and then I'm like, okay, I guess we'll do this. And then about the time that Katie joined us, a little bit before that, I wanted to actively grow our wholesale, because I'd like to see our tools all over the country.
Sure.
I think at this point we have one state that we don't have a yarn shop in. It's Delaware. If you have a yarn shop in Delaware,
wow,
come be my friend. But that, you're talking about not being afraid to talk to anybody, not being afraid to ask anybody. That we, how we really got our wholesale business off the ground is, I looked on the internet and I found every yarn shop in the country that I could find, just like Google listings or, whatever listings that I could find, and found their email address and sent a cold email to them and said, hi, I'm Dawn. We make tools. Your shop looks amazing. And I would do the research, and I would look at their website, and if they have a really beautiful little sitting room, I'm like, oh, I would love to sit in your sitting room. This looks amazing. Or if they carried things that I loved, I would, comment on the things that I loved and try to build a relationship. And I offered to send them samples again, because I had the profit margins a little so that I could do that. And we sent a lot of emails that nobody responded to, and it gets a little discouraging.
Sure.
But eventually we reached the point that, when people were interested, that they'd respond. Angie, tell me, how did you find out about us? Was it at H&H or?
No, I used some of the products, and then I always knew about your name all the time. And I think that I saw a tool And so one of my clients says, "Do you have these?" And I went, "Oh no, I don't. But let me go and find them." And that's how I did it. And I can't remember how I connected, but I started out with a few tools, and then H&H gave me a great opportunity to meet your staff, but also to see a lot of things in person. And I was actually at another shop doing a pop-up not too long after H&H, where I didn't get the row counters because I didn't know how to use them. And so I thought, oh, if they ask me, I'm just going to go, whoa. So I saw the row counters and went, and the lady there, the young lady who just started knitting and she loved them. And she took the time to tell me how they were used and how much fun she got out of it. And I said, okay, I've got to get them. So that's when I went on and got the row counters. And then, like I said, you have videos that tell you everything. And like I said, I'm going to get, that's my goal. I will have the knowledge of that soon, but I'm giving myself plenty of time. But yeah, and I got your the Advent box. I signed up because I'm not a yarn. I don't need any yarn because of course
you're a yarn shop. You have plenty of yarn.
Yes. And I shouldn't be knitting, but with what I'm selling, so because I'm making samples, so I love that piece of it. So I'm so excited, but I'm thinking, what in the world could you put in there that's not already in your store? So I'm just like, I can't wait.
Oh, so, we have some fun surprises this year.
I can't wait.
Because we do use our Advent box as an opportunity to release new products. And so we listen to what people tell us all year. And then, like little fairies, we like to use it as a chance to be like, let me give you the gift that you said you wanted. And so we have a few really exciting things in the Advent box this year that I'm really excited about. And then we have some things that, of course, everybody always needs. There is going to be a row counter in there. There's always a row counter. Right. There's going to be a storage tin.
There's more than one project going always.
Yeah. And one of the things that I like about our Advent box is I have gotten yarn boxes before, and I always feel really bad when I don't keep up with knitting every day. I felt, I started out with the idea of this is going to be a great meditation through the season. And, I'm going to knit a little bit every day and it's going to be great. And then December happens and life happens. And then I'm way behind and I feel kind of guilty. And then I feel kind of pressured that I have to knit this thing. And I'm like, I am enough of a stubborn person that, I'm like, you can't tell me what to do, even if it's me that's telling me what to do. And so one of the things that I like about our Advent box is it is really more like a traditional Advent box that you'd find elsewhere that is just little presents every day.
Oh, yeah.
There's no expectation that you're going to do anything with them each day other than open it and smile and put it in your bag. And that I intentionally don't brand things as being Christmas because I want them to be tools that you can use all year round.
Exactly.
That, the goal is that when you've opened your whole box, that you have a whole bunch of things that are going to be useful for you for the rest of the year. And yes, they'll be cute. Yes, they'll be pretty. If you don't like cutesy things, we're probably not your person. I had somebody last year, our theme was furry friends. I'm an animal lover. I had somebody who emailed us and said, I have a complaint. All of your things are too cutesy and they're all these animals and they're for my 12-year-old daughter, not for a grown woman. And I'm like, oh, who hurt you? Oh, no. But so if you don't like cutesy things, maybe it isn't your jam. This year, our theme is storybook. I have always been a big fairy tale person, fairy tales and nursery rhymes and classic novels. And so I'm picking little things from all of these stories to put in the box. So
Mm.
it'll be childlike wonder. So if you're
That's all
not
right.
smart,
We all
yeah,
need that, right?
we do. Everybody, come on.
I
Be
know.
a little
And you
kid.
still got plenty of slots
We do.
available.
So we still have, I think, about 1,000 available, which normally, previous years we would have been sold out by now. And so
oh
we
my
still
gosh,
have a bunch available. And in fact, we're still in the early bird pricing area. So I have a coupon code that people
yes.
can use. Let me make sure I get it correct, because otherwise you're going to be emailing Jen, who is our customer service person, and saying the coupon code isn't working. And we'll make sure that it works for you. But let me find it here.
Yeah, because I took advantage. I said, this is what I want. I want a little present every day. I don't want to have to
Okay.
do anything.
So the coupon code is Advent25, ADVENT 25. I think it's actually on the product page too.
Okay.
If you at the top of the page.
Is it all caps?
It is all caps.
Okay.
I think it works without all caps, but do all caps just in case.
Just in case. Okay.
Yeah. And so, yeah, if you just want some presents this year.
Yeah. And if they don't need them, or they can get them to someone else if they don't utilize them or anything later on. But that's what I always say. If you don't like the color of the yarn and that
is one of the things about, you got 25 presents. Yeah. I try to cover a lot of bases. And if everything in the box isn't for you, please feel free to regift on. Yeah. I think at the moment, as we're looking at the value that's in there of, adding up all the things that we have planned, it's almost $400.
Wow.
And so believe me, even if you give away some of the things, you're still getting your value's worth of what you paid for.
Exactly. So. Exactly. What about I'm going to do the truck show in March. I'm actually going to be at Scenic Stitches Show, which is in Chattanooga. And I thought, that would be perfect, because I'll have 3 days or 2 days, and I will be in a big place with lots of folks, and this truck show will be great. So I'm excited. I booked it with Katie, and I can't wait. So, and
I'm excited too. So if you're in March, that means that some of the things that are going to come out in December that we're going to show in our Advent box, and then we'll release in January, they'll be in your March trunk show.
Yay! I loved everything that you said about the trunk show. I thought it just made a lot of sense. And, sometimes you're not sure when you're getting something. This is amazing. So,
well, and one of the things that I love about the trunk show, and again, another reason why, as a business owner, to make sure you've got some profit margins so that we can afford to do a trunk show, is that, we send you a box of goodies and you don't pay for it up front, and so it gives you a great opportunity to see what your customers are interested in, what people in your area are excited about, and what maybe isn't hitting as well with your people. I've realized that if you love it, it will sell. Yes. If you don't like it and you don't know how to use it, it's not going to sell.
That's why I got to learn how to do the work.
So row counters may not be your jam, because
but the tea and yarn thing was my jam. So we're going to learn, I swear. And then I'm going to take a video and I'm going to send it to you so you'll know I've done it. But my friend Debbie responded that she's ordered hers Advent as well. So she says all of Dawn's products are wonderful and so useful. So, and it's true. And you are a delight. As nice and sweet as your staff, it's just amazing. I'm so glad to support you in this journey. So I just am excited about it. And like I said, I knew nothing of your background, nothing of any of that, just liked what your product was. And to me, your staff is, is a reflection of you meaning that you're hiring people that you like and love and do what you want to do. And that's what it is. You don't want to have someone in there that's not. So I appreciate it. I mean, I hung with Katie a lot because I was first
she is a force of nature.
It was now I couldn't do all the things that young child was doing. But meeting, she was dancing and doing all this stuff, but I was new, first time at H&H, and I hung around with Roseanne Fleshhauser, and she is the and she knew Katie, and then she got me. So it was just, I felt like I had a friend that I could go to and help, that could help me in that time. So
well, and
you had other people there too.
Yeah, I do. I had Sarah and Holly, who are on our content creation team. They're the ones who are responsible for all of the beautiful videos that you see online and photos. And I had my husband Grant with me. And for somebody who does not knit, like, he can give the spiel at H&H, tell everybody how to do the things. But the funny thing about Katie is she at H&H, she seems so out there, and she's a force of nature, and she's everywhere, and she seems so extroverted and all of these things. But that she's told me that she didn't grow up having a lot of friends or feeling accepted in a lot of places in a lot of ways. And as she taught herself to knit from a book, and went to a yarn shop, and everybody was a little bit older than her, and she didn't necessarily feel like she fit in very well. And so one of her things is that when she is out and about, and she now is in a position to welcome other people into the world, as opposed to feeling like she needs to be welcomed into theirs, is she will adopt everybody. If you can be Katie's friend, and she will introduce you to everybody. And it
was great. It was great. She connected, and I took time to look at every little thing just because of what she had done. And all of them, they were all nice. I know there were two others that were around her, but I got to meet her, from Roseanne directly. So it was just like, okay, you got it. So anyway, thank you so much for today. And like I said, it was wonderful. It was a pleasure to meet you.
Delightful.
And I will look forward to seeing this go around and see what folks have to say. But like I said, I'll be ordering a few things that I sold out of. And then, of course, I'll be waiting for the trunk show. So thanks so much, Dawn. Have a wonderful day.
You too. And thank you so much for doing this at a different than normal time for me.
That's all right. Hey, I'm willing to do anything. This was worth every minute. So thank you. Bye.